9th and 10th grade channel. I'm Aishwarya, and as you can see, I'm back with another very important class for all of you, that is improvement in food resources. Now of course in this particular chapter earlier on we had already looked at the concepts in two of the concept classes, but today we will cover all of these concepts once again in a one shot. So if this is the first time that you are watching our class, please make sure that you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you have your notebooks and textbooks ready with you. Yes, hello everybody, welcome to the class. I can see that a lot of you are here, and thank you so much for waiting because initially we had to set it up. So I hope now my audio, my video and my screen and what I'm writing on the screen is visible to all of you. If it is, please do give me a quick thumbs up on the chat and let me know that we are good to go. Yes? Alright, hello everyone. I can see Fatima, Trupti, Shivansh, Baiju. I can see Vic, Venkat, Divyanshu. A lot of you are here already. Yes, Ayush, Aditya, Anuradha, Samir, Kashish. Yes, alright. I am amazing. I am excited. I hope all of you are. And this is as a part of our JEET Ka Josh series. So I hope that your Josh is very, very high to learn this chapter and ace it. And the most important thing about today is that we will not only be learning our concepts, we will be recalling our concepts with a quick Menti quiz. Your very own favorite Menti quiz that we will have towards the end of today's class. So please make sure you stay tuned towards the end. Tell your friends to come so that we can all be part of the quiz. Yes? Alright, Josh is super duper high, so I'm not going to waste any more time. We're going to get started very quickly, right? No, we're all getting started. For those of you who are saying, ma'am, you know what? We just came. And for those of you who have a test, well, this is going to be your place. We're going to quickly recall the concepts, right? So now, of course, before I get started, as you know, from next week onwards, we are going to be launching the Foundation Fest, right? So you have your ANTHE exams coming up real soon. Of course, a lot of you are aiming to write IIT and NEET exams later on. And of course, we have NSO boards and all of it. And for your preparation, we are going to be starting the series, the Foundation Fest series. Take a screenshot because on these dates for grade 9, we are going to be coming live for physics, biology, maths and chemistry, right? And we will cover all the chapters that we've already covered so far. We'll have a marathon kind of session from 6 to 9 and cover all the chapters that are there that we've studied so far. Yes? So very quickly, do not forget to be part of the Foundation Fest. And of course, you know Foundation Fest is of course helping you with ANTHE, that is the Akash National Talent Hunt exam. It is happening in November, starting from November 5th. So make sure that you do register. Registrations are absolutely free. You do not need to pay anything. But the important part is not, of course, winning cash rewards or, you know, of course, all India ranks all matter. But the most important thing is the exposure that you are going to get on attempting these exams. So give it a try, right? I always tell you that it's time that you try for all of this. Yes? Alright, yes, our NSO exam was today. I know the first round or the first day for NSO was today, 18th of December. Now it's there in November also, if I'm not wrong, it's on November 3rd and December 2nd. I'm not very sure. I'm not able to recollect the dates. But in case if you've not registered for NSO yet, you can still register. You can go through your school, right? For the upcoming round ones in November and December, okay? Don't forget. Yes, alright. Very quickly everybody, before we get started, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, show me your love, and then of course we'll get started, right? Yes, okay. So as you know, our class today is on improvement in food resources, right? Now those of you very quickly, some of you are asking, ma'am, what's NSO? That's National Science Olympiad, okay? That's NSO. So in our class today, what are we going to quickly look at in this particular chapter? We're going to quickly look at sources of food, importance of food, and why we need to improve our food production methods. We will be looking at how to improve crop variety, how there are 3 ways in which we can do it. We will be looking at storage. Then of course, we will be exploring great detail on animal husbandry, and we will be learning about the different types of animal husbandry that is there. Yes? All right. So now when we talk about food, right? Food is nothing but something that we require. We always say that food is the fuel that drives our body, no? And broadly, if you talk about the sources of food, we have plant-based sources and and we have animal-based sources, right? So if we talk about plant-based sources, you have, all your pulses, cereals, your fruits, vegetables, all of that. And your animal sources include meat, eggs, milk, and a lot of milk-made products, right? Or milk-based products. Now, here we are talking about how these food sources need to be manufactured at a large scale, right? This is not something that we are going to be doing at a small scale, but rather manufacture is happening at a larger scale, right? So how do we manufacture it? And very quickly, right, before I tell you, right, why we need to manufacture, before I tell you how we manufacture at a large scale, you also need to tell me why we need to manufacture it. So can you tell me in the chat, what is the reason behind large scale manufacture of plant and animal based food? This is very simple and easy, right? Yes, all right. Very quickly, in the chat, I want you to tell me, why are we talking about or learning about large scale production? Very good. I can see some answers coming. I'm going to write your answers on the screen. Because of increasing population. Very good. Then what else? Yes. All right. To fulfill our need. Yes. So to fulfill our need. Yes. Wonderful. What else? More population, more demand. So increasing demand, right? Yes. So there is an increasing demand for all of this food. Wonderful, wonderful. And ultimately, if there's an increasing population, there's an increase in demand, it is needed for our survival. Very good, students, very good. So now, of course, if you see, in the earlier days, right, India being an agricultural country, that is, we know that the initial population rate or the number of people that we had was relatively less, right? But over time, as you know, the population has grown considerably, right? We're almost the second most populous country in the world, yes? And over the years, of course, there has been a population explosion. When we say overpopulated, we're talking about a population explosion. But the area of cultivable land, right, remained the same. Or I would say that there has been a slight increase, okay? I'll not say it's remained the same, but I will tell that there has been a slight increase, right? So if you look at your textbooks, right, they say that between 1952 to maybe 2010, yes, they say that there has been 25% increase in the cultivable land, right? So that means that we've maybe cut down some trees, we've cut down some forests, right? And we've made place to cultivate the food that we eat. But the thing is, even though there's just been 25% increase, there has been 4 times increase, right? 4x increase in how much food that we are producing. And this is a very big number. 4 times. So imagine if I was producing 10,000 kgs of rice. Now, with this, assuming I'm producing 10,000, right? So I'm producing 40,000 kgs. That is a huge, huge number. So how are we able to achieve this? Yes, I can see the answer. Shivansh is telling me. Very good. I said 10,000, right? Yes, 40,000. 4x increase. And Shivansh has given us the answer because of Green Revolution. So how did we manage this? Green Revolution. Green Revolution was nothing but a large-scale massive movement where we were able to considerably increase the production of food grains, okay? So that is specific to food grains especially. But apart from that, during the process of all these revolutions that were there, right, we will first learn about how we were able to do it for plants, right? So in the case of plants, when we were looking at strategies to improve crop yield, we realized that step number 1 is to increase the food production. If 10 people are there, we must be able to provide food for those 10 people and their families, right? But when we were talking about this, that is where all your revolutions come into the picture, whether it's your green revolution, in the case of animals, you look at blue revolution or white revolution, all of that comes here. All your revolutions come here, wherein we were able to increase food production. But this also meant that we were over-exhausting, right? So we were over-exhausting our resources, yes? So our natural resources like soil, nutrients, water, they were all getting over-exhausted or over-exploited, which is why there's also a need to have sustainable practices that would not hamper the environment. And at the end of the day, even if we are going to do sustainable practices, this must also make it easy and accessible to people, right? Because accessibility to food is what we call as food security, right? If I am able to buy food, right, I have the money to buy food. That means that I have food security, that I will be able to purchase it. But if I'm not able to make enough money, I may not be able to buy enough food. That means food is not going to be secure. It's not going to be something which is easily accessible, right? So these are the, what do you say, I'll not say strategies, but as they try to improve the production of food, they realize that they came across these things, right? So this is important to understand. This sort of tells us why is there a need to improve food resources, or why is there a need to improve how we cultivate food at a large scale. Yes? Are we clear so far, everybody? Very quickly. Any doubts? Yes? Very good. MS Swaminathan was responsible for Green Revolution. Very proud of you. What if people don't have money to have no money but they have food? It's a very interesting question. But right now, of course, if they have only food, then they would suffice, right? Or maybe they would make money by selling that food. Yes? People are very smart. All clear. Wonderful, wonderful. Very good, students. Very good. So what I'm going to do for those of you who have just joined, right, and maybe if you're attending my class for the first time, I'll teach a small portion. Have your textbook open with you also in case we want to make a note of some important pointers that I may tell you that's not in the textbook, or that I tell you that you have to mark in your textbook. You can mark it so that side by side your preparation for this chapter is also done. And I will also be taking doubt boards, okay? So in between, what I'll do is I'll teach a concept, I will do a doubt board so that we can discuss doubt boards, yes? So please don't tell me that, ma'am, you know you are ignoring me, you're not seeing my messages. Please don't say that. It's just that when I'm teaching, I'll probably do one small chunk and take your doubts, okay? Yes, very good, everybody. Very good. Yes, all right. Very good. If you have NCERT, please use NCERT textbook only. Some of the pointers and the basis of content comes from your NCERT textbook, yes? Very good. Yes, all right. Is this not a chapter which is cut? It was cut earlier, but now in this particular year, this chapter is there. Okay? Yes, S. Chand biology, whatever you are using, it's completely fine, not a problem. My basis is set on the NCERT textbook. Okay? All right. So now that we know that when we talk about production of food, right, and we are mainly talking about production of plant-based food, yes? So when we talk about plant-based food, so there are few terminologies that I want to be very clear with right from the beginning. So these are some important terms, I would say, that I will keep using throughout today's class. You can take a screenshot of this. If my handwriting is not looking very good, very sorry about that, okay? I'm still trying to make my handwriting look nice in this board. So the first terminology that we need to be familiar with is a very simple one, that is, what is agriculture, right? So we know that agriculture is nothing but it is the branch of science. So we see that it is the branch of science that deals with the large scale. So it deals with the large scale production of plants and livestock. Okay? Now, when we talk about agriculture, another term that we must also be familiar with is, oops, where is the board on the side? All right. So when we talk about agriculture, right, the next thing that we also need to know is what are crops, yes? So crops here are nothing but plants that are commercially, yes, I hope you are writing all this down. They are commercially important and are cultivated, yes? So they are cultivated at a large scale. Okay. Now another term that you are definitely going to ask me throughout today's class and which I am going to keep using is yield, right? Very, very important. What do we mean by the term yield? So I'll put this as a mathematical equation, okay? So yield is nothing but the total number, or I will say total amount. Okay, that's a better word to use. So it is the total amount of crops is a word, right? So I can use crops in kg. So I'm talking about how much crops am I getting in kgs divided by total area cultivated. That means, so this is of course in maybe kilometer square, right? We're talking about area. So basically if you see, I am talking about how many crops am I getting in kgs depending upon the area that I'm using in cultivation, right? So if this number is very high, that means that my yield is very high. That means in maybe say 10 acres, I was able to get 20,000 kgs of crops, right? That means high yield. But if I'm in 10 acres, I am getting only maybe 10 kgs. It's a very low number. So low yield. Are we clear with these pointers, everybody? You can take a quick screenshot, okay? You can take a quick screenshot because these are terms that I will keep using. Kilometer, yes, some of you are saying, ma'am, hectare. Yes, you can use hectares. After taking a screenshot, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Or you can write it down in your textbooks. Ma'am, not only commercially. Some of you are saying, yeah, good. Oh, no, you can say not only commercially. But the thing is, when we talk about crops, crops are commercially important, right? That means for even the food that we eat is a commercial commodity. That's why the term commercial is there. Yes? All right. Okay. Mayank is like, ma'am, please speak in Hindi because my English is weak. So Mayank, if you feel your English is weak, you can learn some English from me, and just like that you teach me little Hindi. I'll also learn because my Hindi is weak, right? But I'm still learning. Okay, very good. Alright, so now that we have done and learned these three terminologies, right? And in case if any of your friends join later and they ask for these definitions, you can help your friends out in the chat as well, right? Yes, alright. So now of course we know that plant-based, so when we talk about improving the plant yield, we are talking about improving crop variety. And we know crops are those plants which are grown at a large scale. But to grow plants, right, it's not that all plants are the same. Some plants grow, maybe they require very high temperature. Some plants require more amount of water, right? Some plants maybe require cold temperatures. Some plants require different soil types. So we see that there are various factors that affect the growth of crops. That being soil type, light, topography. Topography is nothing but the geographical layout of the area. The irrigation, climate, right? So these are all factors. And of course, we know broadly when we talk about crops, we have three types of crops, right? So we have kharif crops, we have rabi crops, and we have zaid crops. So very quickly in the chat, everybody tell me what are kharif crops. Yes, in the chat, I want it to be very quick. Tell me what are kharif crops, right? Yes, all right, very good. So Tamna, I think you're asking me some question. Please do make sure that it's a little clear. We are studying biology. Yes, we are. We are not studying SST. We are doing biology. Yes. Kharif crops are grown in monsoon season. Wonderful. Yes. So these are sown in monsoon, right? So I'll say they are sown in monsoon season. So roughly their period of growth is between June to September or sometimes October. What about, very good, what about rabi crops, everyone? Tell me quickly, what are rabi crops? Yes, Nitika, very good. You have told me the dates as well. Kharif is grown during June to some October. Rabi is grown in November. They are winter crops, right? So we are see that they are sown in winter. Yes? Very good. And some of you have also told me the dates. Ma'am, it's grown between November to when? From when to when? November to when? If November or October end is the sowing season, when do we grow? Rabi from November to April. Very good, my wonderful students. It is from November to April. Now some of you are asking me, ma'am, then if this is Kharif, this is Rabi, what is the Zaid crop? See, Zaid is very simple. Zaid is nothing but those crops which are sown during summer season. So we call them as summer crops, okay? Which means that they are sown between April and they are harvested by, March. So let me just erase this. right. So we see that these are sown between March to and harvested by May. So your watermelons, your pumpkins, your cucumbers, they are all example of ZEET crops. Very good, Arnav. Very, very good. Yes. Aditi, Venkat, all of you have given me the answer. Wonderful. Wonderful. So now that we know, right, that we have all of these types of crops to grow. Yes. So we know that these are the three kinds of crops that are there. So to improve its production, there are few things we must keep in mind. Okay, so before I go to the next slide, I want to just wait 1 second. I'm going to just present this once again. Okay. Yes, all right. So before we go ahead in understanding this, no, we need to understand that to improve, right? So to improve your food production, yes, we must first improve the choice of seeds. Okay. So we need to improve the choice of seed that we use. Then we must nurture. We must nurture the crops, or we must take care of the crops. And how do we take care? By making sure that we use some proper practices, right? And of course, at the end of it, we must protect, right? So the reasons behind or how to improve is based on this. Making sure that we have proper choice of seeds, nurturing it and protecting it. And keeping this basic in mind, if you see, improvement in crop production and management are done in 3 ways. Improving crop variety. So how do you improve crop variety? We will learn about it. But end goal is to make sure that we have good quality, high yielding seeds with us, right? Or high yielding varieties with us. Now at the end of it, after we choose the seeds properly, we must make sure that we make the way we produce it at a large scale, right? That also matters. So our cropping practices, what we do, how we take care, how much of water, all of that thing becomes under crop production. And after I take care of it and I implement my practices, I must make sure that I protect my crops so that at the end of it, I get good harvest, right? So that is where crop protection comes into the picture. So if you learn about these 3, the rest of it becomes very easy, okay? So first up, let us look at crop variety improvement. Now, the first thing that you need to understand here is what is variety, right? So a plant variety represents a more precisely defined group of plants selected within a species with a common set of characteristics. Okay, you can take a screenshot of this definition. But before I go ahead, I want all of you to tell me in the chat, how many of you understand what does this word species mean? What do we mean by the term species? You can tell me a yes or a no in the chat very quickly. Yes? Again, I think Subesha is telling, ma'am, this chapter is omitted. This time around, we have it. Other 2 chapters have been omitted, okay? Yes, all right. Very good, very good. Lot of you are saying me, ma'am, I know what it means. But in case if you don't know, be honest with me in the chat, ma'am, I don't know what species mean. Because if you don't understand, I will explain it to you. And again, you can, the later part of it becomes very simple, okay? Very good. Wonderful, wonderful. I am seeing the answers in the chat. Yes, all right. Very good. So more or less all of you understand what species means. So I'm going to quickly go ahead, okay? So for those of you who don't know what is species, I'm writing the definition down, okay? So what are species? Our friends are also helping us in the chat. I can see some definitions are also coming from Arnab, right? So we see that these are nothing but a group of organisms, right? Which are capable of reproducing, okay? So they have the ability to reproduce, and the offspring that they produce, right? So their offspring or the young one that is there, this young one will be capable, right? Will be capable, or I can say that will be fertile. Which means that these offspring species are organisms which are closely related, okay? They are very closely related and they have the ability to reproduce and produce fertile offsprings. For example, all human beings belong to the same species, right? So we are all belonging to the same species. Whether we are from Delhi, whether we are from, Maharashtra, whether you're from Bangalore, we're all belonging to the same species, right? We're all Homo sapiens. So that is what species means, okay? Very simple and easy. Yes? All right. So now in the case of plants also, it is the same. But what we are telling is that within a species, focus on this, within the species also we see that there are some plants which are slightly different from one another, right? Which what we understand as plant variety. So we see that these are plants which have some set of characteristics that we need to focus on, all right? Yes, all right. So now, why are we doing this? What is the whole reason behind going behind some plant varieties? If I want to be a rice farmer, can't I just take some rice, some seeds of rice, sow it in the sow it in my soil and then just grow it? Why am I running behind, all of this? Why should I learn crop variety? What is my whole purpose? Very easy. That's because normally, apart from the fact that at a global level, we are looking at increasing the amount, right? We're looking at increasing considerable production of rice or grains or whatever it is. But at a smaller scale, if we look at our poor, wonderful farmers, right? They're also struggling with some problems, okay? The fact that the food that they were growing, right? Or the crops that they were growing. Some crops had low nutritional value, right? Some of the crops were malnourished and they could not harvest them. Sometimes the crops would come and get attacked by pests and insects. What are pests? Some unwanted organisms that will eat your crops. And last but not the least, even if they harvested the crop, the seeds that they would get from it for the next round would be very low quality seeds, right? So let me ask you, if you went to the market and you were buying rice, okay, rice being rich in carbohydrates and various other things, if someone tells you this is not a very, high quality rice, this is low in nutritional value, would you buy that? Would you buy it? Yes? Would you feel like buying this? Yes or no in the chat, right? No, you will not buy. No, you will be like, why should I buy, right? Why should I buy this rice? I am not getting anything out of it. Now imagine if farmer had 10 acres of land and then he got just very few crops out of it. So some of the crops are malnourished, he is at a loss, right? Sometimes they're getting attacked by pests and insects, he is at a loss again, right? So this is very, very tough, right, to understand. So that is why we need to focus on improving crop variety, okay? Now Jitendra, I do understand that I've already completed this chapter separately so that you have in-depth understanding. Now I'm just doing the whole chapter in one shot as well. So that is why we improve the crop variety, okay? And what is the objective? What is the reason behind improving crop variety? So the intent is that at the end of the day, we get seeds that are or crops which have high yield. That means we get more amount of crop in the area that we are sowing or cultivating. Improved quality. So if I am growing wheat, right, and I'm growing wheat because wheat is of course used for baking, or if I am growing pulses and I'm saying that pulses are rich in proteins, then I must be able to get good quality pulses, right? It should not be that they're just some pulses and you're eating it for the sake of eating. No. And at the same time, I need to be able to grow crops which have the ability to withstand some biotic causes. What is biotic? Biotic is living, right? So the pests, the insects that may come and attack the crop, my plant should be able to withstand that. My plant should also be able to withstand some abiotic conditions. For example, if there is severe rain, right? I'll not say rain, but rather if there is a drought, there's not enough water, right? Or maybe it's very, very hot for a long period of time. It must be able to survive these climatic conditions. Now I also would want to grow crops which can mature faster so that in the same piece of land, rather than spending months and months waiting for one set of crops to grow, I must be able to grow crops which maybe will grow very fast, and in the same time I'll be able to grow it 3-4 times, right? So that is what we mean by change in maturity duration. Wider adaptability, again to survive, and desirable agronomic characteristics. This I will come back to it once I explain the next set of concepts, okay? Yes, all right, okay. Are we clear? Are we clear? So far, are we clear as to why we are improving crop variety? Yes, Kunal, I'll teach you, I'll go through this once again. See, the main reason of why we are doing it, right? Why are we improving? Why should we focus on the choice of seeds? Because the seeds that we are normally getting are not really helping the farmers. It's either having low nutritional quality or low yield. So I must be able to achieve or get some seeds which will ultimately give me crops that are having high yield, right? That means they're growing more in number. Or I must be able to get some set of seeds which have good quality. See, yield and quality go hand in hand, okay? There is no compromise with these two. But it would also be great if they could survive some extreme conditions of temperature, or maybe if they were pest resistant, right? If some insect was coming and attacking and the plants are strong enough to fight it off, right? Or if they were able to grow faster. What if I had a plant which is taking 8-9 months and I'm waiting. But at the same time, I found plants, or the same plant, I made a variety, I made something which is not taking 8 months, but it's growing in 4 months. So that I can grow the same plant twice, which means double the money, right? Or double the yield that I'm getting. And similarly, to achieve wider adaptability and desirable agronomic characteristics. These two things I will explain once again towards the end, okay? Once we understand it in greater detail. So are we clear, everybody? Are we clear? Yes? Which seed do you use for harvest? See, the seed for harvest, right? For example, if I'm growing rice, I will collect or I will harvest the part. So harvesting is nothing but cutting the crop from the root below. And at the end of it, I'm going to collect the grains, right? Not root below, from the lower parts. Yes? All right. We have Menti towards the end, okay? Towards the end, I will be doing Menti. 4 mahine paisa double. Yes, that is also another thing. All right, Pavni, can I tell you some of the reference book towards the end of the class if you don't mind, because I'm teaching right now? I will definitely. You can just remind me. I will tell you about it, okay? Yes, all right, everyone. We are good to go. So I'm going to quickly go ahead. So now that we know what is the objectives or why we are doing crop variety, right? Let's see how we can achieve this. How can we improve our crop variety? Now see, this particular part is the toughest part of this chapter, okay? And if you understand this, the rest of the chapter is cakewalk. It's easy peasy, okay? That's why I'm spending some time here. For the rest of the part, you will anyway understand, so I'm 100% sure. So let's spend some time and understand this so that we have proper conceptual clarity. So how are we achieving this? By hybridization and by genetic modification. So let's first understand what do we mean by hybridization, right? So hybrid means mixing of two things, right? So hybridization that is there is nothing but the crossing of genetically dissimilar plants. See, this is the key word in your definition. When you get this for your exam, no? It'll come as a 1 mark question. If it comes for 1 mark, you will get only as a definition kind of thing, or maybe 2 marks where you'll have to give with example, okay? But this part, that it is genetically dissimilar, if it is not there, you are definitely losing marks, okay? So your 1 mark is guaranteed from just one definition and remembering what it is, right? So the crossing of genetically dissimilar plants is what we refer to as hybridization. So what am I doing in my hybridization? I need to cross 2 plants which are not the same, right? But can I take 2 any random plants? Of course not. Because my aim is to improve the variety, right? So I must be looking for something that I want to create or I want to make which is beneficial or which is desirable, okay? This is a word I want you all to focus. I want something which is going to be desirable for me. What am I desiring? I want lots of crops. I want high yield. I want it to survive this. I want it to do that, right? So I am looking for something that I am desiring. So in this case, I have a plant which is drought tolerant. That means it can survive with less water also. But if you see, it is producing very chotu seeds, right? So small seeds are there. Now I don't like small seeds. No, I want big seeds to say that, see, look, big seeds. No, very nice it is. But at the same time, I have another plant. Very nice, big seeds are there. But sadly, little bit water also goes missing, this plant will die. Now, I am not liking the fact that it is not surviving in less water. Now, what if I took this part, this particular feature of this plant and this particular feature of this plant and I brought it together such that I got a hybrid plant, right? So I've got a new variety, yes, which is drought tolerant and which is giving me large seeds. It's a win-win for me, right? So now I've got what I wanted. So I can tell, hey, you know what? My plant is able to survive in less water. And along with that is giving me large seeds, right? And how was I able to achieve this? By crossing them, bringing them together by hybridization. Are we clear, everybody? Are we clear? Yes? All right. So I can see I've missed some questions here. So very quickly, you can ask me your questions right now. Breeding between two plants for good production. Yes, very good. Ma'am, please summarize so that it fits in our mind. It's very easy. Hybridization is the process of crossing two genetically dissimilar plants, which means that genetically they are not identical or they are not the same. When we say they are dissimilar, it means that they have some characteristics that are beneficial for us or that are desirable. And when I bring these two desirable characteristics, or if I hybridize it in such a way that I get an end product or I get an offspring which has both my beneficial characters or my desirable characters, this process is what we know as hybridization. Okay? Ma'am, can I have examples for interspecific, generic and varietal? I'm coming to that, Himanshi, so can I show it to you in just a bit? I'm coming to that in the next slide. Ma'am, is it done by farmers? Yes. So basically what they do, they artificially keep cross-pollinating it, okay? So imagine I have these two plants, they will artificially cross-pollinate it and they will do it for multiple generations, right? So they will keep doing it for multiple generations till we get what we want. So that is how they do it. Yes? Okay, all right. Yes, everybody, are you giving me a quick thumbs up? Then I'm going to move to the next part. Okay, once we know this, we're going to move into the 3 types. Yes? All right. Yes, Fatima, very soon. Okay? Now, in hybridization, there are 3 types. Okay, now we had somebody asking us, I think Vedika was asking us for some examples, right? And I think Himanshi was also asking us for some examples. So, Himanshi, here you go. So there are 3 ways in which you can achieve hybridization, right? So you have intervarietal. So what is intervarietal? You look at it very literally, okay? I'm going to make it very simple for you. I'm not going into the technicalities of it. If you want the technicalities of it, you can watch Improving Crop Yield, the session that I've done as a standalone. But for this, you just need it very simple and easy. Inter means between 2. Varietal, it means 2 varieties, right? So crossing of 2 different varieties but of the same species. Look at the keywords I'm highlighting, highlight it in your textbook as well. This is what we mean by intervarietal. And what is an example here? That is Kalyan Sona. See, Kalyan Sona is a variety that we get from crossing 2 varieties of wheat, okay? So wheat ka species is the same, but if you take 2 varieties of it, which will have slight differences, okay, and you cross it, you will get Kalyan Sona, and this is an example. You can make a note of it. Now, similarly, you have interspecific, right? So in interspecific, inter again means 2, specific means species. So between 2 species, 2 different species, but of the same genus, right? So in your taxonomic hierarchy, you have genus as well, right? So an example is Tangelo. See, Tangelo comes from your orange and your grapefruit. And when you cross these 2, you will get Tangelo. Now, what is my whole point of making Tangelo? Why can't I just eat orange, or why can't I just eat the grapefruit? So we know that orange has a citrusy flavor, but it is somewhat sour, right? But in the case of grapefruit, we know that it's very yummy, but sometimes maybe in terms of nutritional value, comparatively, it may not be that much. So I am getting something which is very sweet and delicious to taste, and of course, maintaining its nutritional value. So this is another example. Then you have intergeneric, right? So in the case of intergeneric hybridization, you have something known as rabbage, right? So in rabbage, you have radish and cabbage. So when they are crossed together, you will get rabbage. Now, intergeneric is not very common, okay? So in hybridization, what is most common is intervarietal and interspecific. And now and then they also try intergeneric, but these 2 are what is most common. Yes, are we clear? Pomato is also an example of interspecific, okay? Pomato is an example of interspecific. Yes, all right. Yeah, Vedika, that's a good one. Yes, okay. Some of you are saying, ma'am, I've eaten Tangelo. That's amazing. So you can quickly take a screenshot of this, and for those of you who want examples, you can write this down also. Pomato is an extra example that you can write. Ma'am, please repeat. Definitely, I will repeat. Because this is your main crucial part, okay? So that's why I'm going slow here also. See, hybridization, we know, is the process of crossing two genetically dissimilar plants. Now, there are various ways in which you can hybridize. You can either hybridize by crossing two varieties, okay, but of the same species. So if you take a species of wheat, they come in different varieties. And if I take two different varieties, but they are of the same species, then it's an intervarietal one. So that is Kalyan Sonar. So the definition is crossing two different varieties, but of the same species. Interspecific being two species when they are crossing of two different species, okay. So two different species but of the same genus. Example being your Tangelo. Then you have intergeneric, right? Between two different genuses altogether. Your example is Rabbage. Are we clear? Yes, all right. Are we clear, everybody? Give me a quick thumbs up. Hello, Simran. Hello, all right. Ma'am, can you explain the second part? Are you asking me about interspecific? Is that what you are asking me? Aryan? Amazing, amazing. Okay, in the meanwhile, how many languages do I know? I think I know 4 languages. Yeah, I know 4. So I know Hindi, English, Tamil, Malayalam. Yeah, pretty much that much only. What is pomato? Okay, alright. So for Aryan and for those of you asking me about pomato, okay? See, when you have, like I told you, right? Homo sapiens, yes? Sapiens is your species, right? And I told you that species are organisms which are of the same. They are very closely related, yes? Now, in the case of your Tangelo, yes? Let's see. We have citrus, so citrus, some species is there, okay? I'm going to put it as species 1 because I don't remember. And you have citrus species number 2 because I don't remember the scientific name, okay? So let's imagine you have 2 different species. They are not the same, but they belong to the same genus. That means that they're close, they're not exactly the same, but they're closely related. So when you cross 2 different species, then this kind is what we call as your interspecific hybridization. So 2 different species, but they belong to the same genus, right? Now in the case of your pomato, you see that it is a cross between a tomato and a potato, right? And if you see, both of them belong to the genus Solanum, okay? And if I'm not wrong, potato is Solanum tuberosicum and this is I don't remember for tomato. But if you see in this case, right, when you cross these 2, you will get pomato. So in this case, their genus is the same, but the species is what is different. Ma'am, this looks complicated. Yeah, this is complicated. You don't need to go too much in detail. Just need to know the definitions. Are we clear with this part? Because in your NCERT, in your exams, you will only get like simple questions like what is interspecific hybridization? Explain with one example, 2 marks. Just need to write these 2 things, okay? Yes, okay. Numan, are we clear now? Give me a thumbs up so that I can go ahead, right? Vedika, for variety and genus with example, can I do this towards the end? We've spent some time here, so I'll do it once again towards the end, okay? Yes, okay, or actually I'll just do it now. See, variety is when species is same, but even amongst species there are slight differences, okay? So then we say that there are 2 different varieties. So when you do, like later on, right, maybe later once we finish off your syllabus, we will do diversity as well, and then you will be having a more clearer picture. But for now you need to understand that 2 species which are quite the same, or they are of the same species, yes, so we have species. But when there are slight differences, we see that it will lead to different varieties. So we have variety 1 and variety 2, right? Now genus on the other hand is a more broader hierarchy level. So under genus you will have many, so there will be one genus name, but we see that there will be many different kinds of species under it. So are we clear between variety and genus? Yes? Alright, okay. Ma'am, so in biryani we use tomato. No, we don't use tomato in biryani. If I'm right, we use both tomato and potato only. Okay, wonderful. So now that we are clear with this part, which I would say is a very tough part, now let's go on to the easy parts of it. So what are the advantages of doing hybridization? Very simple. At the end of the day, if I'm getting superior quality, I'll be able to get a superior offspring, right? Which has my desirable, again I'm telling you, I'm stressing on the word desirable because in your exam when you write, no, don't say favorite characteristics or lovable characteristics. I mean, as much as we use it colloquially, don't write that, okay? So you have to use this. This is a technical term to address that, and that is desirable characters. So we get desirable characteristics from both the parents, right? So the initial two plants that we cross are nothing but your parents. So this is of course economically beneficial. And along with that, what am I getting? I am getting disease resistant plants, plants which will not fall sick easily. And of course this means I am getting high yielding varieties, right? Yes? So we are getting high yielding varieties, and I am able to get this by picking my desirable characters. And in case if some unwanted plant comes, right, we see that unwanted proliferation can be controlled, which means if some sterile organisms, so for example, when I keep crossing and doing hybridization, I might also end up getting some plants which will not give me seeds, right? So because we're doing it over generation and generation, sometimes I might not get plants which are of good quality, or they might be sterile. So this will also mean that this is not going to work for you. Because at the end of the day, to make a successful cross, they must be fertile and they must continue their species, right? So sometimes you will know if your cross, if you take two plants and you cross it and you get a plant, you will only know if it will survive if it can also reproduce, okay? So that is a very important criteria. But a very big disadvantage of this hybridization is that it's a very long-term process. I told you, a farmer has to take, artificially cross-pollinate, wait for the other plant, right? Very time-consuming. And the results are very uncertain. You don't know if this is what you will get or no, right? So it's a very, very time-consuming process, right? So this is again very important that we understand this. Which is why genetic modification is very ideal, okay? So let's understand more on genetic modification. So what do we mean by genetic modification? Again, look at this quite literally. That means that I am modifying what? You tell me in the chat. What am I modifying here? What will I modify in genetic modification? You tell me in the chat. Yes? Very good, very good. I am going to modify genes, right? Yes, very good. Genes or chromosomes. Or I'm going to combine your answers and I'm going to say I am going to modify the genetic material, right? Very good, very brilliant. You're all so brilliant. So now of course in this case, right, we see that there is a certain, so again for those of you who will tell me, ma'am, so many terms, I'm not able to understand. What is this? So I will tell you what is a gene first, okay? We know genetic material is nothing but the, material that we find inside the nucleus of the cell, which has all the information that is needed for the cell to carry out its activities, right? Now, gene is nothing but a sequence, or I will say it is a fragment, right? So it is a fragment of the genetic material. So in this case, if this is my genetic material, right, we see that gene is nothing but a small fragment that is there. And this one small fragment will code for a particular character. So let's say that my drought, so you saw earlier there was a plant with large seeds. Now let's assume that this portion of the genetic material is what is coding for it. Then we say that this is the gene for it, okay? So this is what you need to understand. And in genetic modification, what do? We take a gene that we like, right? So we take a gene that we desire or that we like, and then we will insert it, right? Or we will modify the genetic material of the plant. So such kind of organisms which have a modified genetic material or a modified, or we modify the whole organism in general, is what we call as genetically modified organisms, or which you would have popularly learnt about as GMO. Are we clear, everyone? Are we clear? Yes, all right. Ma'am, ab kya padha rahe ho? Improvement in food resources. We are learning on genetic modification, right? Yes, all right. Ma'am, is it comparatively easy to hybridize interspecific than I think you meant hybridize intervarietal than interspecific and generic. So Vaishnavi, yes, it's actually easy to hybridize intervarietal because at a species level, right, they're very closely related. Which means the more closely related they are, chances of producing fertile offsprings are higher. Which is why intervarietal is most preferred, followed by interspecific, and least preferred would be intergeneric. Yes? This is so complicated and difficult. Numan, I hope you told me earlier you were able to follow. Are you able to follow now? Is everything okay? Yes, all right. What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Yes, thank you Shakuntala for the answer. Manish, ma'am, GMO का advantage क्या है? So with the GMO, advantages are that I am able to produce superior organisms. So in the case of brinjal, right, we see that this modified brinjal is what we call as BT brinjal, okay? And why do we call it as BT brinjal? Because the gene that we insert, or we modify the genetic material of the brinjal by inserting a gene from a bacteria known as Bacillus thuringiensis. You don't need to know, this is some extra information, don't get scared, okay? So basically what this gene does, no, it actually produces a toxin. And this toxin will actually kill pests that come and attack, the brinjal plant. So what they did, they produced this gene so that the brinjal plant only can directly produce the toxin, right? And thereby a pest-resistant brinjal plant was produced. And if a pest-resistant brinjal plant was produced, then of course the yield of brinjal will increase, right? So the advantage is that I am able to increase the yield, yes, but there are disadvantages because ethically, is this something we should be doing? Is it safe for consumption? These are all things which are in trial and error, right? Ma'am, in definition it said that we insert gene from bacteria to plant. Can you explain that once again? See, basically, it's not as easy as I explain it, okay? But to make it easy for you right now, because later on when you go to 12th grade, right, you have a chapter on biotechnology. And in that you will learn in greater detail. And it's very interesting, trust me. So basically what happens, no, if this is the genetic material of my brinjal, okay? Now there are various aspects to this. This is not as easy as I'm explaining it to be, right? And this is the genetic material of my bacteria. This is the gene basically that is coding for the toxin that is there. Yes? So what they do is they will cut this part, okay? Or what they do is they'll make space. You imagine if you had, so I have something with me. Imagine this is my DNA and I want to insert something in between these two, right? I want to make some space. So what will I do? I will cut it so that there's a gap which is created and then I will insert it. So effectively they are going to do something of this sort where your genetic material will look something like this, okay? So now this has become part of the genetic material of the brinjal that is there. So it will be like this. Are we able to follow what I am trying to say? I am taking some time here so that you understand, right? So this is your genetic material of brinjal, but what has been inserted in the middle? The gene that codes for the toxin. Yes? All right, okay. Ma'am, is GMO result certain? More certain than hybridization, okay? Yes, all right. Are we clear? Sure, okay. Ma'am, could you please give me some examples of genetically modified plants? Definitely. So you have BT brinjal, you have BT cotton, and you have golden rice. So these are 3 examples you can write down. Okay, are we clear everyone? Very quickly. अध्यापिका कृपया हिंदी प्रयोग कीजिए. जरूर थोड़ा मैं हिंदी में बताऊंगी, बट अभी के लिए सो फार आर वी क्लियर? थोड़ा मैं हिंदी में बताऊंगी, ठीक है? Ma'am, when will we start Menti? We will aim for 5:30. 5:30 we will aim for Menti, okay? Anushka, don't worry. Like I told you, no? As the minute we finish this part, the rest of the chapter is very easy. Ma'am, why they wanted to insert in middle and not the end? It's not that it's in the middle. I'm just saying they insert it at a certain part of the DNA. I just drew it in the middle for your easy understanding, that's all. Okay, ma'am, difference between hybridization and genetically modified plant. In hybridization, we are crossing, right? We are crossing two genetically dissimilar plants, but we are not meddling directly with their genetic material. Here in genetic modification, we are modifying the genetic material of the parent only, right? So we are directly meddling with the genetic material. Yes, all right. 30 minutes for Menti. So we have a target. Let's get started. So these are some examples of genetic material. I hope that we have cleared your doubts. Yes, all right. So today's is a one-shot 2-hour class. So of course, we'll try to wind it up. So we have covered crop variety improvement. Now we'll have to go for crop production management, right? Now crop production management is very easy. You just need to understand the intent of crop production management, because a lot of it you all have learnt about it in your 8th grade only, right? So in 8th grade we have learnt about a lot of things that we have learnt about, yes? So in crop production management, our aim, right? So we have chosen high yielding seeds. So our choice of seeds is sorted and we know how to get good quality seeds or good choice of seeds. Now how do we know that we have to grow these seeds properly? So that depends upon farmer to farmer. Some farmers have the money, they have the appliances, they have the resources to grow it at a large scale, right? While some farmers may or may not have that. But intent at all times must be to get high yield of crop by putting minimal cost and low maintenance, right? And based on how much you invest, you have high cost, low cost, and of course you have average cost as well, right? So of course, how can you produce at a large scale, right? Crop production management, how are you able to do it? So by managing the nutrient intake of the crop, by irrigation and by cropping patterns, yes? All right. So now let us quickly look at nutrients. Now we know why nutrients are needed. No, we know why we need nutrients. We need nutrients because nutrients are nothing but those important substances which are required for growth, for development, and to make sure that we are able to grow and survive. Now just like how we all require nutrients, plants also require nutrients. So if you see, from the air they get carbon and oxygen, from water they get hydrogen and oxygen, and from their soil you get their macronutrients as well as their micronutrients. So these are the list of macronutrients and these are the list of micro. You don't need to know too much in detail, you just need to know that these are macro and these are micro. Two examples will also do. But in macro you need to know that nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium are super important, right? So what are macro? They are needed at a large scale. Micro is when they are needed at a smaller scale. Yes? Are we clear, everybody? Yes. All right. Now, of course, we know that normally in soil nutrients are present, but at times we need to provide nutrients, right? So we must add these nutrients to the soil. Now we can add manure. Now what is manure? The definition's on the screen. You can write it down or take a screenshot. It is nothing but organic matter, which means that this is derived from living organisms. And we see that this is derived from solid animal and plant waste. So mainly if you see solid animal wastes like the feces or urine, they'll all be rich in nitrogen, right? And of course, if plant waste is also there, it will undergo a certain process known as decomposition. So what is decomposition? It is nothing but the breakdown of complex substances into simple forms or simple soluble forms, right? So that is what we mean by this. Yes? Very good, very good. All right, organic materials are used for making. I know, Arnav. Yes. Is manure organic? It is organic. Now for those of you, I can see Ankit saying, all right, Ankit is telling, ma'am, samajh nahi aa raha hai. Ankit, can you specify what you're not able to understand? I will definitely help you out, okay? All right, okay. So now, of course, if you see manure, there are certain advantages, right? They enhance the water holding capacity, which means more amount of water can be retained in the soil, makes it porous also, so that water can be present. It is increasing friendly microbes, and of course, it improves soil texture. And more importantly, because it's got from organic matter, no, which is of course nothing from obtained from living organisms, it is very eco-friendly also. But at the same time, one disadvantage is that it lacks certain essential nutrients, right? You don't know exactly how much nitrogen or how much manganese or how much iron will be there. You cannot fix that part because you're again getting it from living organisms, and this composition of the manure depends upon multiple factors. So this is the main thing. So you can quickly take a screenshot of this slide, everybody. Yes, all right. Okay, all right. So I can see, are we clear so far? Yes, okay, all right. Ma'am, can we use both manure and fertilizer? Yes, you can use both manure and fertilizer, and we'll discuss why. But I also see that there is some diversion, some distractions in the chat. So I would request all of you to focus on what I'm teaching, okay? Because see, it's a one-shot class. It's important that we pay attention, right? So if we get distracted here and there, a lot of your exams are also coming up, no? And I don't want you to go, I hope that you don't make any mistakes in your exam. I'm going slow so that you understand as well, yes? So no diversions in the chat, yes? And of course, I can see Rohan is telling me, ma'am, I have a doubt, so please tell me, right? Please tell me what is your doubt. No doubt. Okay, please go ahead and ask me. And I think earlier Rohan was also asking me about some diagram-based questions for 10th grade. Please put it in the comment section below. Right now we're focusing on 9th class, right? So put it in the comment section below. Our team will be looking into it and we will definitely help you out, okay? All right. So Rohan, promise me you will put it in the comments, right, regarding the diagrams. All right. Is manure used today also? Yes, manure is still used because they think it's a better alternative to fertilizers, right? So very, very important. So what are fertilizers? Fertilizers, on the other hand, are inorganic chemical substances, right? So I think you may not be able to see. I'm just going to write it on top. I'm writing the keywords on the screen. See, they are inorganic, which means that they are made in factories. They are got from inorganic substances. And these are added to the crops. Now, when you talk about inorganic substances, one of the advantages is that you know exactly how much of nitrogen, how much of phosphorus is present, right? And one of the advantage, of course, is that it enhances soil fertility by providing primary nutrients. It is very easy to store and it's very efficient. So we look at short-term use. If I use fertilizers maybe for a few days or a few months, this will definitely be helpful for me. But long-term usage is that it actually destroys the soil fertility. Now you'll be thinking, no, ma'am, you just told me that soil fertility will be improved, right? It helps in increasing the yield. Then how is it reducing soil fertility? What is the difference between the two? So you see, soil fertility is nothing but the natural fertility of soil, wherein you know that so many amount of nutrients are present. But when you add an external chemical to it, no, we are making a chemical imbalance, right? It changes the chemistry of the soil. And when the chemistry of the soil changes, it will reduce the fertility. It will no longer be as good as it was before. Along with that, it will cause water pollution because say if some water runs off from here, we see that these chemicals will go to the water, causing water pollution. And of course, it is injurious to health as well, right? Yes, all right. Ma'am, bata do ki, okay. Organic salts, can we say? Yes, you can say inorganic salts also. Yes, all right. I know bio mein chemistry be, yes. You later realize that chemistry and bio are like interlinked. They're like bi-ben. Yes. All right. So I think Rohan is also again asking me for extra questions. Rohan, again for 10th standard, let me tell you, you can drop it in the comments, but since you are asking me, extra diagrams like tongue, buccal cavity, and NCRT diagrams will be enough, okay? Mainly your NCRT diagrams, extra diagrams are not required, and we'll have a class on diagrams for 10th grade. Don't worry, okay? Yes, all right, very good. You can take a quick screenshot, everybody. Yes, Shalu Pillai, you can say that eutrophication and biomagnification are disadvantages. Yes, you can say that. Triyugi, okay, once again. See, inorganic fertilizers are nothing but inorganic salts or inorganic chemical substances which are added to the soil. Short-term advantages are, of course, they promote soil fertility by adding the nutrients, very portable, easy to store, quick solution to, improving the crop yield. But disadvantage being that, they destroy the chemical balance of soil, thereby reducing soil fertility. They cause water pollution and they are injurious to health. Which is why we see that an alternative to this, right, is going with organic farming, right? So in organic farming, we see that there is minimal or no use of chemicals and maximum output of organic manure is there. It is, we get it from, we use recycled farm waste, we use some microbes, we have healthy cropping systems so that we are able to achieve and get good quality ones. I'm sure nowadays you see, you have organic tomatoes which are being sold in some of the markets, or you see organic cabbages. I'm sure you keep seeing that label organic everywhere. No, a lot of you would have seen that. Yes? How many of you would have seen that term that is being used consistently? Right. So a lot of you would have definitely seen that. Which is best for long term? Long term would definitely be practicing organic farming, because if you continuously use fertilizers, it can hamper your soil chemistry, and right now a lot of it can cause soil pollution also. So usage of fertilizers is not definitely recommended, which is why we go for manure. And in manure also you have green manure, you have vermicompost. I'm sure that is all mentioned in your textbook as well, right? So in vermicompost you use earthworms to create the compost. In green manure you add certain plants like your sun hemp or guar to improve the nitrogen content. So these are some alternatives that are there, okay? Ma'am, difference between manure and fertilizer, very easy and very important. I think it is there. Let me just check. Is it there on screen? No. So I'll just quickly write this down. What is the difference between manure and fertilizer? You guys can only tell me the differences between manure and fertilizer also. Mainly on how we obtain. These are mainly obtained from organic matter, right? While this right here is obtained from inorganic salts, right? So this right here improves soil fertility, right? So we see that this improves your soil fertility, makes it porous, right? And here we see that this improves the yield of crops on a short term, right? So this is advisable to use at, so this of course is eco-friendly, right? I'm just writing 3 so that you get an idea of how to write. While this right here is not eco-friendly and of course has large scale or long-term effects. Yes? Quickly take a screenshot, everyone. You can write this down. I know manure is cheaper also. I'll write that. Very important one. I like that point. Who told me manure is cheaper? Who told me that? Let me scroll back. Very good. Very good. I'm not able. Yeah, Pavni told me. This is cheaper. This is expensive. Right? And at the end of the day, we want something which is low cost. No? Manure is accountable. Very good. Very good. Very good, everybody. Very good. Are you able to see my screen? Are you taking a screenshot of this? Give me a thumbs up. We'll move to next part. We have irrigation, cropping patterns. Oh, we have so much to cover. Okay. So guys, shall I pace it up after this? I'm going to quickly pace it up a little because we have quite a bit to do. And we have Menti also. No, we have to go to Menti. Right? Yes, all right. Jugad, it's, hey, this is not Jugad. Okay, all right. So now, of course, let's go to the second part. So now we know we have to manage our nutrients and we know how, right? Now the next part that we need to understand is irrigation. So what is irrigation? Irrigation is nothing but providing water at regular intervals, right? So this is what we mean by irrigation. Now when we talk about water, yes, water is extremely important because water helps in the absorption of nutrients, it helps in protecting the plant during some, frost times, right? It's extremely important. Now in the case of water, we know that in India at least, India being a rain-fed, we know that monsoon happens, the success of the crops in most areas are dependent on monsoons, right? And if sufficient monsoon is there, then of course it is good. Too much of monsoon is there? Not very good. Like how in Bangalore, it's been raining for quite some time, right? So too much of monsoon is also not very good. But you need the right amount of rainwater, or if they are dependent on monsoon season or the monsoon rains, then the success and sufficient rainfall is necessary, right? And we know that if there's not enough, it will lead to drought, right? And drought is when there is not enough water and thereby affecting the growth of crops. So what are the sources of irrigation in India? So we're dependent on rainfall mainly. But of course, apart from that, we're dependent on rivers, canals, wells, tube wells and ponds, okay? So very quickly, if you see, wells are nothing but, deep, they are found deep in the ground, right? So if we dig deep into the ground, we find the wells, we have, wells are something that we dig even at our homes, right? We have bore wells, tube wells, we have dug wells, right? And mainly what are we getting? We are collecting water from the strata. Strata is nothing but the layers in the earth, right? And we know that we will keep digging into the layers of the earth to get water. Yes, and these water is then lifted by pumps. So if you add a pump to it, then you will get water, or you will pump up the water to the lands. Now next one of course is canal. So let me just erase this part. Alright, so the next one here is the canals. Now canals are an extensive kind of irrigation, okay? So basically if you see these canals here, they receive water from rivers or reservoirs. So reservoirs, if you have dams or if you have ever seen dams, we know that there will be a reservoir of water here, no? And we see that from here you will have a branch, okay? Or from the river you will have a branch and this will form a main canal. Okay, and this main canal will further branch down to form branch canals so that it can distribute into the fields. Okay, so canals is another form of it, right? Very, very important. Now next up, if you see, we have river lift systems. Now river lift systems, I know it sounds very complicated. It's very simple, okay? What are river lift systems? So in some areas, we see that these canals will not give enough water. It's very irregular or it is not proper. And this could happen because from the reservoir you are not getting enough water, which is why it is not going to the canal, okay? And that is where your lift system is more important. So what do? Quite literally, you take water directly from the rivers and then you supplement it or they use a supplemental irrigation. So in areas which are close to rivers. So they will have an irrigation system, but if there's not enough water, they will use a river lift system and they will take it directly. And what is your condition for a river lift system? When your canal is not working, right, or it is not properly giving you water, that is when you use a river lift system. And last but not the least, very easy, right? Tanks. What are tanks? They are nothing but storage areas. You have a tank right on top of your house, right? Sure, most of you have it. What does the tank do in your house? It stores the water. Similarly, these are small storage reservoirs which intercept and they store runoff water. So basically they are areas, if there's a lot of runoff, right, surface runoff, or if there's an area with a lot of stored water, these guys build tanks on it so that water can be stored inside it. So are we clear, everybody? Which is the most expensive form of irrigation? I would say so in all cases, right, it depends on the tools that are being used. But in most cases, if you see, I would say that it could be the river lift system because you'll have to, directly draw it. But I'll have to check. I'm not very sure. Yes, all okay. Yes, wells are used around villages. Wells are the oldest forms, I would say, of irrigation. Yes, all right. Okay. Have you all taken a screenshot? See, these pointers are there in your NCRT, All I want you guys to do is to highlight the pointers that I've highlighted on the screen in your textbook as well, so that you know that these are the pointers you have to study for your exam, okay? Ma'am, have we done Menti? No, not yet. I want to do Menti. We have quite a bit. Now moving on to cropping patterns very quickly. So I've learned we know how to manage our nutrient. We know how to provide water to our crops. Now, how to grow our crops. So that's why your cropping patterns come into the picture. Now, if you look at it quite literally, cropping patterns is when there's a set pattern in growing your crops. Now, based on the pattern in which you grow, you have mixed cropping, intercropping, and crop rotation, right? So in mixed cropping, what you do is you grow 2 or more crops simultaneously on the same piece of land, right? So here we are not saying in any definite pattern or anything like that. We're just saying we're growing 2 or more crops, right? Now why are we growing 2 or more crops? So that it reduces the risk and gives some insurance against the failure. So let's say I grow wheat and gram, okay? Then I see that my wheat plant is not growing properly. So normally if I had only wheat, I would be very sad. Oh my God, my wheat has become a flop. But now I also have gram and my gram is growing well. So if nothing, I have something to sell in the farmer's market, right? Which is why we do mixed cropping. Keywords, 2 or more crops which are grown simultaneously on the same piece of land. These are your examples. This is there in NCERT also. Underline your pointers, okay? Yes, all right. Ma'am, what is the difference between mixed and intercropping? I am coming to it, right? So intercropping on the other hand is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously. But if you notice, there's an important keyword here. In a definite pattern. So if I have a piece of land, I can make a row pattern where in consecutive rows I can grow. So here I will have my crop 1, I can have crop 2. This is my alternative type of growing it, right? So there's a pattern, a definite pattern when I'm growing 2 or more crops, right? So you can have a few rows of one crop alternating with a second crop. You can do it column wise as well, right? You can have broader rows also. You can reduce the number of rows. Various patterns are there, and based on the patterns also you have further sub branches of intercropping, which you will study later on. And one example here of course is ginger and cabbage. So are we clear? In mixed cropping there is no pattern. You can grow something like this. So in mixed cropping, I can decide that, okay, so much I will grow like this, I can do this, right? Or I can do half and half, right? I can do anything. There's no set pattern. But in intercropping, there is a set pattern, okay? That is your main difference. Now, last but not the least, we have crop rotation, where on the same piece of crop or in the same piece of land, we alternatively grow crops. And we grow it in such a way that the nutrients are used wisely. So here if you see in one season, right, or in my first round if I grow corn, I grow in my next season, right, or after this I will rotate it with soya bean. And when I do this, I am alternating it such that the soil can replenish or it can get back the nutrients that it has given while growing maize, right? So this is when we grow it alternatively. So what is the difference between the three? On your screens, you can take a screenshot. Mixed cropping is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously. Intercropping is growing 2 or more crops simultaneously in a definite pattern. And this is growing 2 or more crops in the same area across a sequence of growing seasons. Or you can say when you are growing it alternatively one after the other. Right? What is happening here? It will reduce the risk of failure. Here we see that we know that efficient nutrient management happens, and again one type is grown in summer, one type is grown in winter for effective nutrient management, and these are your examples. This question, difference between one among the 2 cropping patterns, will definitely come for 2 to 3 marks. Take a screenshot of this. Yes? Are we clear, everybody? Are we clear? Okay, some of you are saying, ma'am, can the right side light be switched off? Okay, so we will, let's wait for Ravi sir to come back. I'll try to adjust the lights. But in the meanwhile, can we adjust, everyone? Can we adjust with our screen? I will share this PDF with you on Telegram. Don't worry. Do not worry at all. Yes, all right. So very quickly everyone, if you are liking the class, if you've understood crop protection and production and of course whatever we have covered so far, do not forget to hit that like button, right? Very quickly, hit that like button. Let me know that you are enjoying what we are doing. Yes? All right, very quickly. Wonderful, wonderful. Now let's move on to the last part, which is crop protection management. Okay? All right. So we now know how to protect, right? So let me just go back. We know how to get our choice of seeds. We have nurtured it very well. But there are various things that can attack our crops, right? So many things which can attack. So what are the possible reasons or how our crops can get destroyed? Can you tell me on the chat? What can affect our crops? Yes, in the chat. What will affect it? Very good, very good. Yes, Arnav has told me, ma'am, weeds can affect it, pests can affect it. Yes, all right. Abiotic factors. Wonderful. Who told me this? Himanshi. So abiotic factors can affect it. Calamities, okay. Diseases. Very good, Alicia. Some diseases can affect it as well. So there are various reasons as to why our crops can get harmed, okay. Now, abiotic factors like drought or maybe, some calamity that is there, so they're not really in our control. We can't do anything about it. Only thing is we can make, temperature resistant, or we could make some resistant plants, right? Or drought resistant plants. But for pests, weedicides and diseases, we can do something about it. So we know that insecticides and pesticides are normally sprayed, right? So we normally tend to spray these insecticides and pesticides that will kill the pests or insects which are there. Now the downside of using this is of course because you know that these pesticides that are there are sprayed on the plant, right? And these are chemicals, which means later on when humans consume them, we are also consuming chemicals, which is not really advised. Similarly, we see that, which is why generally in the case of insect pests, we see that we do one in few things. Of course, one is, we see that, generally when insect pests attack the plants, they do it one in three ways. Either they will, make sure they cut the root, stem and leaf, they suck all the cell sap, they, make sure that they eat into the fruits that are there. Thereby, this will affect your crop and it will reduce your yields. Which is why if you see there are various alternatives that are suggested to using insecticides and pesticides. Now in the case of insects and pests, insects and pests are nothing but living organisms, right? So what they normally do, they normally tend to use BCA. What is BCA? It is biological control agents, okay? Biologically controlling agents. So BCA are nothing but certain organisms which naturally feed on these insects and pests. And either they could be some microbes or they could be some bigger insects that feed on other insects. They are normally added and they will not hamper your crops. But what they will do is they will get rid of your pests. So a more economical way of protecting it. Similarly, in the case of weeds as well, we see that weeds are nothing but undesirable plants that grow along with your crops that compete for water and sunlight, right? And in this case, weedicides like 2,4-D are sprayed, yes? But now, weedicides are also chemical substances, which is why sometimes we tend to use some ANTHE. So what they do is we naturally get rid of it, or we are a little more cautious. So weed control methods will be, of course, to be a little more mechanical. So they are manually removed using khurpi, right? Preventive measures such as using proper seed beds, preparing the soil properly, making sure that we practice intercropping, crop rotation, all of this lessens the possibility of growth of weeds, okay? So these are ways in which we can control the growth of weeds. And last but not the least, after we do all of this, we get good harvest. Okay, say we've done everything. We get good harvest. Now at the end of it, we need to store them. Now storage can either be in jute bags or metallic bins, or in large scale they can be stored in granaries and silos, right? So large scale production is also there. But in storage also we face certain challenges. For example, again, when we store the grains, there could be pests or there could be some microorganisms. And of course, if moisture is there, it will contribute to the growth of microbes. Which is why we need to make sure that we sun dry, we add neem, making sure that we get rid of all of it. So with this, if you see, we've covered the major part of the chapter, right? Are we clear, everybody? I know, ma'am. Menti is there, but animal husbandry is also left. Don't worry, don't worry. We will do it. We'll do Menti. Our session may spill over a little bit, but not to worry. We'll still continue, okay? Are we clear? See, end of the day is you spent maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes for today's class. But after today's class, if you see, you will become masters in improvement. You will be like, ma'am, I just need to watch this video or read my textbook once. I'm good. I don't need to worry about this chapter, right? Yes, in the meanwhile, right, reference books. First reference book I will tell you is your NCERT. Read your NCERT because most questions come from NCERT. And once your concept is clear, practice questions from your exemplar book, okay? And then for extra reading, I would recommend books like S. Chand, you have Arihant publications, but I would go with S. Chand's publications only. You can read the book as well. But again, I told you the hierarchical order, no? First is your NCERT, then your exemplar, and then S. Chand you read. Because S. Chand, if you read first, no, concepts look so tricky, you will get very scared. Which is why I'll always say start with NCERT. Fine? Okay. Ma'am, do insecticides and pesticides not affect us and weedicides not affect plants? See, insecticides and pesticides, the chemicals are designed in such a way that they don't affect the crop plants, okay? Because at the end of the day, if it affects the crop plant, it is not a good insecticide, right? Or a weedicide. But these chemicals will get deposited on the surface and when consumed by us, can be harmful. Which is why their usage is not really recommended, okay? All right, everybody. Okay, all right. Yes. So just give me 1 minute. All right. So now let's get moving on to the next part. Let me just uninstall this, close this, and move on to the next part. Okay, it's very simple. Animal husbandry, we've already covered it separately. But now that we've understood all of this, this should become easy peasy. So moving on to animal husbandry, and in animal husbandry, we know that we are talking about large scale manufacture of animal based food products. So we have milk, meat and eggs, right? So in animal husbandry, we see that it is nothing but the scientific management of animal livestock for obtaining animal-based products, right? So we have various steps involved in this. So in animal husbandry, right from feeding, caring, giving them proper shelter, breeding, these are all extremely important and crucial such that we get good quality animal products, okay? So the first one we are going to quickly look at is cattle farming, after which we look at poultry, fisheries, beekeeping. Now in this, the tricky part is only your fisheries, so we'll spend a little bit time here, but the rest of it is very easy. So first up, we'll talk about cattle farming. Now cattle farming is done at a large scale because from your cattle, you get the most important thing, that is milk, right? And we know that based on whether they give us milk or whether they are used for mechanical labor, you have animals which are your milch animals and you have your draught animals, okay? Now milch animals are those animals which will give you milk, yes? And you have draught animals which are used for mechanical labor, alright? So these are used for mechanical labor. And then you have, of course, your dual purpose animals. Now, in the case of your milch animals, right, we see that milch animals are your milk providing animals, yes? So your cows and buffaloes, so you would have seen Bos bubalis, all those examples, they are nothing but scientific names of your cows and buffaloes from which we mainly get milk, right? So milk can be obtained from indigenous varieties which are found in India, right? So we see that they are found in India. These are some examples of your indigenous varieties like Gir, Khilari, Sindhi, Devni. These are all examples. But the thing is, the yield of milk, right, was not that much from the cows. It did not give up. So basically, if the demand is this much, no, the yield did not match. Which is why people felt that using exotic breeds like Brown Swiss, Holstein, Jersey, this would all be helpful. Now in this case also what happened was, these guys, exotic breeds means they are from, foreign. They are foreign breeds, right? So they came from Switzerland, England, Dutch regions, right? But in all these cases what happened is, because they are foreign breeds, they are giving you high yield of milk, but at the same time they're not from our country. So they were not able to adapt to climatic conditions. Which is why in this case we see that exotic or hybrid varieties were made, where we see that a foreign variety was crossed with an indigenous variety to give you a hybrid variety. So what is the advantage of using a hybrid variety? You are seeing that you have the best of both worlds. You are getting a disease-resistant variety, a hybrid variety which can survive in, the climatic conditions of our country, provided you are getting high yield of milk as well. Right? So are we clear so far, everyone? Are we clear? We'll quickly cover animal husbandry, okay? We're not going to spend too much time. Yes? All right, okay. Now, of course, when we talk about cattle farming, right, we know that we need to provide the cattle with food that will help in improving the quality of milk. Our aim at the end of the day is whatever we do, whether it's the diet, whether we are taking care of it, we must be able to improve the quality, right? Which is why we provide it with roughage and concentrates. Now, your concentrates will have gram, husk, oil seed cake, all of which will help us in achieving, okay? So it will help us in achieving or improving the production of milk, because this will be rich in proteins, yes? And of course, we see that in the shelter also, we see that they must be sheltered in well-ventilated roofs that protect them from rain, heat and cold. The floor of the cattle shed needs to be in a sloping area so that it can be dry and can facilitate cleaning. Cattle should be vaccinated, because at the end of the day, if they are not taken care of and if they are sick, it immediately affects the production of milk, right? Which is why these are the things we must take care of. Are we clear, everybody? Are we clear? Yes? Is it important that it will be hybrid? Alright, it will be important, okay? Because if it's hybrid varieties, and hybrid is what is preferred, because they can adapt in the climatic conditions as well as they are able to survive, okay? Alright, so now a lot of you are asking me, ma'am, Menti, when will it happen? So shall we fix a time? So I will cover full animal husbandry by 5:50, okay? By 5:50, we will fully cover it, and towards the end, as we do Menti, shall I take your doubts? Shall we do that? Then at one stretch, I will finish covering the whole thing. Yes? Give me a quick thumbs up. I know I said 5:30, but you had so many doubts, no? So I was clearing the doubts. What can I do? What is lactation period? Lactation period is nothing but the duration through which they produce milk, right? So lactation period is the duration in which cows produce milk for their calves, okay? Alright, so I just need 10 minutes of your time. I might not be looking at your chat, okay? But my point or my aim is to finish animal husbandry and we will jump to Menti, okay? Alright, so now I'm going to finish poultry, fish farming and apiculture, and then I'm going to take your doubts. So I have my phone down, I'm not reading the chat, but all your focus on the screen, okay? Let's get started. Now poultry, if you see, or poultry farming is undertaken for raising domestic fowl, or basically they are undertaken or they are there to raise birds for what? To get eggs and meat, okay? So your poultry includes hens, ducks, turkeys and geese. Now we see that these animals, right, or at the end of the day, if you see, I'll just come back to this slide. If you see, we have two kinds of it. We have layers and we have broilers. Now layers are those birds which are reared for eggs. Okay, remember this. While broilers are those which are reared for their meat. Yes? So this is the difference between layers and broilers. Now we have some examples on your screen. You have leghorn and minorca, which are examples of birds which are said to be good layers, right? While in the case of broilers, we see that we have, cochin and a seal, which are some examples. Now here again we see that we have indigenous varieties like Asil and Kadaknath, and we have exotic breeds like white leghorn and Rhode Island red. But again, in both these cases, right, there are advantages for indigenous variety with the fact that again they are adapted to the climatic condition and they are said to be good broilers, right? But in this case, we see that exotic breeds are said to be good layers, which means we get good eggs from them. Now they wanted something from where we can get both eggs and meat, which is why you have hybrid varieties where you cross an exotic leghorn and an Asil to get a leghorn Asil variety. So again, your hybrid varieties, whether it's in the case of plants or animals, we prefer hybrid varieties. And we see that their diet is also very, very important, because we see that their diet, oops, the slide is going again. Their diet again needs to be rich in proteins and it needs to be rich in fat. Why does it need to be rich in proteins and fat? Because we know that the meat that we consume are rich in proteins and fat. And additionally, we also add vitamins we add vitamin supplements to their diet, so that especially like vitamin A, vitamin K, all of which is very important qualities, or it will help in improving the quality of the poultry, right? And at the same time, we need to take care of them because they are susceptible to diseases. So if you would have heard of avian flu, especially avian flu, right? We see that they fall sick. And when they fall sick, it spreads very fast, thereby affecting quality of meat, and of course, it will affect food production. So it's important that we take care of them. Now, very quickly, we will move on to fisheries, okay? Or I would say fish farming, right? Now in this case, you need to understand few terms, that is aquaculture, mariculture and pisciculture. If you know what is the difference between fisheries, capture, culture and all these, so many terms are there which will really confuse us. If you know the difference, the rest of it becomes easy peasy, okay? Very simple. Now, of course, if you see in the case of fisheries, right, we see that there is rearing of aquatic organisms, because apart from fishes, we also consume crabs, squid and other mollusks, right? And they are commercially grown, or they are provided at a large scale and sold in the market. Yes? Now we see that aquaculture, I'm erasing fish farming from this because this could be misleading. So what is aquaculture? Aquaculture is nothing but rearing of aquatic, right? It is a rearing of aquatic organisms. See, I am specifying it. It is rearing aquatic organisms at a large scale. That's what we understand as aquaculture. Now, aquaculture, right, it can happen in two ways. It can happen in the marine waters, right? Or it can happen where? It can happen in inland, right? So, in fresh waters. So, this is based on the location, right, of where aquaculture is happening. Now, how are we getting these fishes, right? Based on technique, we see that we have capture fish farming and culture fish farming. So in capture fish farming, what you do is you capture the fishes, okay? Which means from their natural habitat. Listen to me very carefully. From their natural habitat, you will capture them. So whether it's in the marine oceans, right? Whether it's from the seas or the oceans, or from inland areas like fresh waters, or even in estuaries, which are said to be big fish, fish reservoirs. We see that if you capture them from their natural habitat, we call it as capture fish farming. While culturing is where you have an artificial farm for them, right? Or we see that we do it artificially, where you have a tank or you have a place where you rear them. So it is outside their natural habitat. So here, advantages of capture fish farming is the fact that you are Disadvantage of capture fish farming is that you are depleting the natural population of certain aquatic organisms. Whereas that is the immediate advantage of culture fish farming, because here if you see, you are culturing them, right, which means that you are growing them, and that means you are not disturbing their natural habitat. So very quickly here again you have freshwater, marine, like I already told you. So again in fish production, finned fishes, mollusks, prawns are there. So these are some extra slides for all of you, okay? So in marine fishery, like I told you, you can culture it, right, or they will capture it. Now some of the economically relevant ones are pomfret, mackerel and tuna, right? And we see that this rearing of marine organisms, right? So rearing of marine organisms is what we call as mariculture. So here you are rearing marine organisms, which is what is mariculture. Aquaculture is aquatic organisms irrespective of where they are. Mariculture is marine organisms, right? So we also have mullets, bait keepers, pots, which have a high economic value. And of course we know that in capture fishing, right, so when you are trapping them and capturing them, we normally use, we normally use satellites and echo sounders to capture them. So this is just a part of capture fisheries, okay? Now of course if you see here, this is a definition of mariculture. You can take a screenshot or I will share this with you on Telegram, so don't worry about it, okay? Now of course if you see, we have inland fishing, okay? Inland, I told you, is in regions like ponds, rivers and canals, and we also know that sometimes we do it. We also do fish farming along with paddy fields, right? So if you see, if the paddy fields are here, we see that the water or in the side we have some inland fish farming as well. Now you also have another thing, I'm going to erase this, which is composite fish farming. Now composite fish farming is a type of culture fishery where you grow 3 to 4 species of fishes in such a way that they don't compete for food, okay? Now what happens here? Now you have some fishes. Pay attention here, okay? This is very simple, don't get worried at all, alright? So in this case, right, we see that you have some fishes which feed on the top of the water. We call them as top feeders, right? So your example here is catla. They are top feeders. Then some will be found feeding in the middle of the pond or the tank. We call such fishes, or some examples here are rohu, okay? And then some of them are bottom feeders. Now these bottom feeders are your common carps that are there. Now what happens here is that if they all feed on different levels, we see that they will not compete for food. And in one tank only, I am able to rear 3 to 4 species of fishes. Which means in a single tank with reduced costs, I am able to grow more varieties of fishes. This kind of method is what we call as composite fish farming, where 3 to 4 varieties are grown in such a way that none of them compete for food. So there is no competition. Yes? Alright, so this was about composite fish farming. Now last but not the least is beekeeping, right? So we know that beekeeping or rearing of bees at a large scale is what we call as apiculture, right? Apiculture, why do we use the term? AP comes from apis, which is the scientific name or the genus of bees, right? And why do we grow bees? Because we get honey and we get beeswax from them. So basically we see that they are all reared in places known as apiaries or bee farms. So they have these apiaries or these boxes inside which bees will be found growing, right? And we see that this acts as a beehive for them where they form honey, right? And honey of course is again very nutritionally rich. So these are some examples that you see. You have Apis indica, right? So all small letters, okay? You have Apis dorsata, Apis flora and Apis mellifera. So these are some examples. And of course, if you see, with this we come to the end of the animal husbandry part, right? Yes, all right. Everybody, I hope now we are clear. So now, like I told you, by 5:50, I promise that I will finish animal husbandry. So before I go to homework question, it's time for Menti, right? I know I told you 5:30 and I took 20 minutes extra, but in 20 minutes we'll wind up Menti, okay? So very quickly, let me just go to the Menti platform. Yes. Let me just refresh it. All right, okay. Can you all see my screen? Yes. Okay then, everybody, the code is there. The code is 752888089. I'll send it on the chat as well. Quickly tell your friends to join for the Menti also, because I'm sure they would have been like, oh, ma'am is not doing Menti. She's been teaching for so long. So let's quickly finish it off, okay? 8089. I'm sending it on the chat. Yes, and please make sure that you tell your friends, okay? I mean, in case if any of your friends ask you in the live chat, please make sure that you are sending it to them as well. So let me quickly refresh my screen. And guys, very quickly, I can see 8 of you have joined. Okay. 12 of you have joined. Ready? Are we good to go? Shall we get started? Yes. All right. I have sent the code on the chat. Bhumika, I have just finished the explanation. We're going to get started with Menti. Let me just quickly drink some water and we'll get started, okay? Hi Sia, welcome to the class. Welcome to the 9th and 10th grade channel. Do not forget to subscribe, right? Yes, all right. I can see that 27 of you are joined. I can see Deepya is also new to the class. Welcome. Okay, all right. So our chat moderator Abhimanyu is also sent it. So let's get started, everybody. I'm not going to waste any more time. I can see 29 of you have joined. Let that number hit 30 and I'm going to get started. Okay. All right, so we have some very simple questions on the screen. I can see we have 10 questions. So very sure that after 5 questions, we'll have the leaderboard, okay? Yes, Abhilasha is also new. Hello, Abhilasha. Welcome to all my new students who have just come to class, okay? 35, 36. Now see, tell your friends, everybody. Make sure that you send it on. You tell everybody that now Menti is happening. We want this number to increase. Let's aim for some 100 kids in class, right? For the Menti. Okay. First question on screen, right? Everybody focus. Which of the following is not an exotic breed of cattle, dairy cattle? Is it Jersey, Holstein, Bos Indicus? It says Bass Indicus, but Bos Indicus or Brown Swiss? Very simple and easy question. You have 30 seconds. We are talking about which is not an exotic breed. Let me just go stand on the other side. Yes, all right, everybody, very quickly. Very good, very good. So for those of you who got confused with this question, Bos Indicus that is there is nothing but the cow that is there. Indicus, whenever you see the term Indicus, know that it's an Indian variety. But Jersey, Holstein, Brown Swiss are all exotic varieties of cattle which are not from our country. And we see that they are not adapted to our climatic conditions, but nonetheless we know that they have good high milk yielding one, right? Yes, all right. Shivan says, ma'am, don't remember. That's because by animal husbandry, everybody was like, ma'am, now time for Menti. But it's okay. See, this is how you learn, right? So very, very important. Yes, all right. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Yes? All right. Question number 2. I'm going to wait a little bit for everybody to join. Okay? Yes, all right. See, if you make mistakes right now, don't feel bad, okay? Just take it as a learning curve. Okay, ma'am, I need to learn a little bit more, so don't worry about it. Yes? All right. Okay. Very good. Very good. So let's get started. I have 42 kids already. Are we good to go, students? Yes. Very good. So let's get started. Answer fast to get some more points. What does... So easy. This is so easy. All of you should be getting this answer. What does GMO stand for? Genetically modified organism, growth maturity order, good maturing offspring, or gold medal order. Arey, this is so easy, guys. What is this? Very quickly, everyone in the chat, right? Just tell me done. What does GMO stand for? We learned about it. I will give you a clue in genetic modification. I said it towards the end. Everyone has voted. Let's see. Very good, everybody. Very good. The correct answer is genetically modified organism. Who got confused with growth maturity order? What is growth maturity order? We're talking about GMO, genetic modification. If an O is there, it's organism, right? This is so easy. Yes? All right. Very good, everybody. Very good. In the meanwhile, if any of you have just joined, please go to menti.com and put the code. Our chat moderator will send it to you once again on the chat, right? Yes. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 3. All right. Okay, I can see around 65 students in the live chat, but only 43 on Menti. So very quickly, everybody join the Menti platform very soon. Yes. Let's have a look. Which of the following is not an organic method which is used to control weeds? Okay. Proper seed beds, weedicides, intercropping, or crop rotation. See, even if you don't recall, right, what are the organic methods used in weed control? Think about what is organic, then think about what amongst this does not look organic, and then vote for the answer. Yes? All right, everybody. Time's up. Very good. Okay. Well done. See, what are weedicides? Weedicides are nothing but chemical substances that are there, right? So weedicides are nothing but chemical substances which are sprayed to get rid of weeds, right? Now, in this case, if it is chemical substances, then they are not organic methods. No, it's not organic. Which is why proper seed beds is an organic method. Intercropping, crop rotation, they're all organic methods, farming techniques, right? Which is why the correct answer here is option B. I know everybody says, ma'am, so easy. What is this? It's easy because you guys all know the concept, okay? That is the main thing. Now let's look at question number 4, everyone, on your screens. Yes, very quickly join the Menti as well. Let's have a look. Answer fast to get some more points. Okay, which among the following groups include only weeds? Okay, so you have, I think I did not talk about this, but it's there in your textbook, so this is very easy. You have Parthenium, Xanthium and Cypernius, Xanthium, Parthenium and maize. You have Convolvulus, Balsam and paddy, Amaranthus, Convolvulus and Chenopodium. Think of it, even if you don't know any of the names, no? And it'll happen. Sometimes in your entrance exams, you will get questions like this where you don't know what is what. But you know that some of it have some obvious answers which are not weeds, right? Very good. Very good to all my 26 students who've got this answer, right? See, maize cannot be a weed, it's a crop. Paddy, again, not a crop. Convolvulus is nothing but the flower. It's a flower, it's not, what do you say, a weed. But your Parthenium, Xanthium, Cypernius, they are all examples of weeds, unwanted, undesirable plants that compete with your crops. Which is why the correct answer here is option number A, right? Yes, all right. Some of you are saying, ma'am, I've joined late. I think Adya, welcome to the class. Quickly go to www.menti.com and put the code. And some of you, please help your friend Adya out with the code, right? So yes, question number 5 before our first leaderboard. Very quickly, everyone. Yes, workout tukka. Very nice. Okay, all right. So let's get started. Let's have a look. Which of the following is the first step to control plant diseases? Ooh, very interesting. Selection of disease-resistant varieties, introduction of disease-resistant varieties, breeding of permanent disease-resistant varieties, or biological control. Oh, okay. All right. I think how many of you got confused with this question? I want to just take 1 minute, okay, to explain this. How many of you got confused here? Like, ma'am, what is this? I did not understand. Yes, Arnav says, ma'am, I was. See, we're talking about what is the first step to control plant diseases, right? Now, if you remember, when I started with improvement of your food, when we spoke about improvement of crop yield, what is the first thing I said? First thing we need to do is to pick our seeds or choose the choice of seeds, right? So your choice of seed here is very, very important, which means you cannot just select a disease-resistant variety, but you need to introduce a disease-resistant variety. And how do you introduce it? By your hybridization, right? So you will have to figure out how to introduce it. So that is why this is the correct answer. Once you introduce it, you will select and then breed. Are we clear now? Are we clear with this question? Yes? Okay, all right. Okay, no problem. So let's get going with the next one, okay? All right. So we'll quickly have a look at the leaderboard, okay? So let's see who's on top of the leaderboard. Yes, very good. I can see Pavni here is the fastest, followed by Vedika, Anushka, Parth. I have Sakura with me. I think Sakura here is a Naruto fan. But okay, we have Shriya, Shifa, Sakshi, Vilas, and Hasib, class 6. Yes, all right. Congratulations, everybody. Quickly tell me your scores as well. Brilliant, brilliant. Shivansh says 12th. Very good, everyone. Very, very good. Yes, okay. So are we ready to move on? Wonderful, wonderful. See, whatever your score may be, right? What I want you to focus on is your learning, your understanding of the concept, right? Yes. Bhumika says, ma'am, Menti is not working. Is everybody facing this problem with Menti? Bhumika, in case if you are facing some trouble with Menti, kindly just close the Menti screen altogether and open it once again, okay? Yes, all right. No, it's working. Okay. So, Bhumika, quickly, you can do that, okay? So, let's move on to question number 6, everyone. Let's have a look at question number 6. 45 of you are here. Let's get started, right? Okay. So, which of the cropping method involves the successive growing of different crops in the same field in a definite pattern, right? Mixed cropping, crop rotation, intercropping, mixed farming. Remember the key word. I'm stressing on the key word. It's a definite pattern, right? This should be an easy one, right? Oh, ma'am, confused. What happened? I know which two options you will get confused with. Yes, very good, everybody. Very good, right? You will get confused with mixed cropping and intercropping. Because see, in both mixed cropping and intercropping, we grow two kinds of plants on the same piece of land, right? Grow successive growing of different crops in the same field. They've used some fancy word, but we're saying same field, right? And we're saying in a definite pattern. That is intercropping, or simply put, growing two crops on the same piece of land, right? Intercropping has a definite pattern. Mixed cropping, we will not specify a definite pattern. Yes? Sorry about that. Okay, everybody, are we ready for the next question? Okay, all right. Answer fast to get some more points. Very easy one. Which of these crops does not require a nitrogen fertilizer? Very easy one. Little direct, but the question may not be. You have corn, soybean, paddy, oats. I'll give you a clue. Recall crop rotation. Just recall crop rotation. Think about what can naturally improve the nitrogen content in the soil. Arsalan is like, ma'am, soybean? Yes, soybean. Correct answer is soybean here. See, why are we using soybean, right? So we know that soybean is a type of leguminous plant, right? And we know that leguminous plants in their root nodules have rhizobium, yes? And we know that rhizobium here is responsible for fixing atmospheric nitrogen and converting it into soluble forms. And thereby, in crop rotation, we often grow corn followed by soybean simply because soybean will improve the nitrogen content in the soil. So it acts as a natural nitrogen fertilizer because it has rhizobium in its root nodules. Are we clear? Yes? Are we clear with this concept? Very good Samyukta, very good. Yes, okay. Yes, we are clear. Fatima has given me a thumbs up. Well done. Let's move on to the next one. So, very quickly everybody on your Menti screens, last 3 questions which are there, 8, 9, 10 and we'll wind up our class, okay? Answer fast to get some more points. Yes? Which among the following is an important objective of biotechnology in the agricultural section? To produce pest-resistant varieties of plants, to increase nitrogen content, to decrease the seed number, to increase plant weight. Very easy. I told you, biotechnology, right? And I told you about this when we were discussing a specific concept in the beginning. I told you learned about it in your 12th grade. Think about it very logically, right? Okay. I am so proud of all of you. Well done everybody, well done. See, it was not a direct question, okay, because we're talking about important objective of biotechnology, which means we're talking about how we can use it in hybridization, how we can use it in genetic modification. So in this case, I thought some of you will get confused with to increase nitrogen content. But no, that is with respect to nutrient management of the soil, right? So that will not come in biotechnology per se. But here to produce pest-resistant varieties of plants, especially in the case of BT brinjal that we discussed, the correct answer is option A, right? Yes, ma'am, can you please decrease the screen brightness? So, Arsalan, I would want to do, but I think it's a little tough right now. So, could you please adjust if you don't mind? Please, I'm very sorry about that. Okay, all right. So very quickly, for those of you who have just joined the class, I can see the number has increased. See, we are in Menti. We have reached question number 9 of 10. So you can quickly join. The code is there on top, 752888089. Join the Menti quiz. Be a part of this very simple quiz that is there. Alright, let's have a look at question number 9. Which of the following is formed as a result of using good quality breeds? Okay, again, producing high yields in a shorter period of time, not requiring irrigation, increasing the lifespan of crops by 10 years, carrying out photosynthesis at night. So the following is a result of using quality breeds. This is again a very easy one, I would say. Yes, Ravi sir is still not here. Ravi sir will be coming. So that is why I'm struggling a little bit with the brightness. Okay. Yes, very good everybody, very good. Movika Adda, if you have a question, please do ask me. Yes? Well done, well done. See, now you're now able to understand. See, these are not easy questions. They are a little bit of application, but now you're able to differentiate what is an application in improvement in food resources, and you're able to differentiate with options that don't really make sense to us, right? Yes, all right. Now moving on to the last question for today. Yes? Very quickly. Last question for today on Menti. Which of the following refers to inland fisheries? Okay. We have culturing fish in fresh water, deep sea fisheries, trapping and capturing fishes from sea coast, extraction of oil from fishes. So easy. It's a very easy peasy question. Movika Adda, please tell me what is the problem. Please do tell me. I've been asking you, ma'am, please tell me your serious problem. Over! I know, 4 more seconds and we are done, right? Hey! Who are these people who got confused with option C? Some of you had misclicks, is it? See, this is very simple. Inland fisheries is with respect to the fishing that happens or obtaining of aquatic organisms from your, canals, estuaries or from your brackish water which act as fish reservoirs. When you say fish, sea, coast again is with reference to marine, right? Which is why your correct answer is option A, right? What is option D? So awkward. I know, right? Sometimes in questions, they'll give you some random options. You don't even need to pay attention to them. Trust me. Yes? So with this, we come to the end. Let's have a quick look at who are the winners, right? Who's there on our leaderboard. So my phone has run out of charge, so please don't mind. Yes? Okay, all right. So I can see Pavni is here. Pavni's got 9097 points. Well done, Pavni. I can see Sakshi, Shriya. I have Parth. I have Arnav, I think, who is the fastest. Then I have Anushka, Nitika, Sankalp, Samyukta, who loves Aishwarya Ma'am. How sweet. And Hasib of class 6. Yes? All right. Okay, well done, everybody. Well done. Sewing is easy. SS, Ma'am, 36 to 22. That is amazing. Yes? Well done, everybody. So now, how are you feeling with crop production and, improvement in food resources? I am so used to saying crop production and management sometimes, right? So very quickly, everybody, you can log out of Menti, right? So today's Menti is over. Let me quickly exit this. Yes, all right. So with this, if you see, we come to the end of today's class, right? So here's a quick homework question for everyone. In the comment section, I want the answer. How can we improve crop variety yield artificially? This is your homework question. I want you to let me know in the comment section below, right? And I'll be checking your answers, right? Because you know that no matter what, we have got you covered. And do not forget to like this video, share it with your friends and stay subscribed to our channel. Yes? Are we clear, everybody? Are we clear? Yes? Okay, some of you are saying, ma'am, I cannot see what's happening, right? Okay, my name was not there in the leaderboard. Yes, hi Khushbu, hello. Yes, okay everybody, so very quickly we will wind up. I hope you have enjoyed today's class. 6:15 Ankita ma'am will be coming live, right? So very quickly, if you want to go and attend, she's taking a Menti quiz on some of the 10th grade chapters. But if you want to check it out, you can also go and check it out, okay? Yes, all right everyone, do not forget to hit that like button. Give me the answer for the homework question. And until then, hoping to see you very soon again. Bye-bye and have a nice day.